Welcome to the station crew. Enjoy your stay.
Alright, and we are once again back with Space Station 14, this time on Wizard's Den's Lizard server. We'll be playing as an atmospherics technician, which is mostly the same as being an engineer, except you also do piping now. We'll be skipping most of the power and air setup for the first major event. This is about an hour into the round. We've gotten all the air, we've gotten this tag set up. There's been some weird happenstances and strange things going on with our co-workers, but nothing that was up to us. Anyway, I make a small mistake here. I forget to fill back the floor that I spaced. So I'll just do that. Makes the scientist who was here for an anomaly, which I never heard of or saw, have to leave the place. So I just make sure to at least re-atmospherics place the rooms. And I try and keep an eye on what's going on here. They ask me what happened, so I tell them about the space tile I forgot. I hear them ask now, quite clearly, as they were whispering. So they were planning something, and they're about to do it soon. And somebody starts attacking me with some Syndicate technology, North Star gloves. Makes you punch super fast and super hard. Usually an assassination technique. You can also destroy the body with those. And they were quite clearly targeting me, and there were two of them. So I know that somebody is out for my blood. I call it out on the engineering channel, and I get lucky enough that the detective passes nearby just as this happens. They start on the radio, and they start coming with me as I have the fire axe that usually is in atmospherics. They wait for backup, which is a wise move. We search around the place, the department, but don't find him anywhere. Neither him nor the scientist who was there earlier. We did get lucky that they hit a wire with their North Star gloves. It means that they had to take off their insulated gloves to do that. Security is nice enough to lend me a disabler pistol to protect myself from another assassination attempt. Just put it in my pockets for quick and easy usage. I don't plan on killing my assassins, just running away, at the very least. When we find our would-be assassin, the first of many. Doesn't have gloves on. Anyway, they get arrested and searched. This is about an hour into the round, by the way, if I didn't mention that earlier. So many things have happened. since they're trying to play the dumb card, we do have a second person who was here, but they were nice enough to leave their syndicate uplink up on the PDA. Which means they're pretty much busted now. But they also had a hollow parasite in them somehow. Which is quite a lethal close range. Basically a companion, a follower, a helper, played by another player, who hits very hard, moves very fast, but has quite a range limit. I'm good enough to open the door for security while they kill my assassin by throwing the PDA at the door, since they're the ones with the actual guns. And as you heard, when you kill the hollow ghost parasite, when you kill the hollow ghost parasite host, it also kills the ghost. Anyway, we get resuscitated. But now I'm worried because, for all I know, security is not going to be able to hold them in indefinite confinement if they don't feel like it or something. Usually processing gets a bit wonky. So I ask if I'm supposed to go back to work with them once they're done with their sentence, whatever it's going to be. Ask me to look for the North Star gloves around atmospherics, which I'll be trying to, but I won't be able to find them. I ask about if we're gonna have to go back to work with them. Since they're a non-syndicate agent who tried to do murder, we'll ask the chief engineer to fire them, which they approve of. In the meanwhile, while I came back to work trying to look for the gloves, some random person is inside the atmospherics asking me for my ID. And they also happen to have a hollow parasite. So, because they're in a big heavy suit, they're slow enough for me to get not away, but towards a public area where people see what's happening. Especially a paramedic who sees what's going on. So while we do get killed and our ID is stolen, or at least aren't forgotten in the back room somewhere. Anyway, we make it back to medical again. The head of security is here once again. Probably had asked the paramedic what happened. Anyway, lots of things are going to be going on in the background. I'll have to go back and get my ID, get some equipment, that kind of stuff. And get healed too. I don't actually remember who the person who killed me was, only their physical characteristics. And their EVA suit, because that's what allowed me to at least not get away, but run far enough. In any case, the paramedic asks us more information, so I tell them best I can. So we'll be skipping all the re-gearing part as I go around, get my ID, get some equipment, get some stuff, get a suit, and when the next time I come back into atmospherics, the the thermoelectric generator's burn chamber was sabotaged, and now there's a giant fire in the room. And I'm too lazy to repair it since it's like an hour and a half into the shift, so we're gonna be leaving soon. So we'll just have to vent the room.
The
So we don't have a
emergency shuttle
fire
has been
hazard.
called.
This is the 1 hour and a half point when the automatic crew shift arrives. And I would very like to get out of this station with at least 2 assassins trying to get me. For some reason. But first we have to do our job. So I cut the connection to the fuel line. But there's still a bit of fuel left in the pipe, so it keeps injecting. So we go to the injector itself and turn it off. And space it at the source. We should fix the leak. Now we just have to wait for the room to be spaced. And because of all the damaged windows around, we identified that it was a revenant ghost who can break windows who did this. Which means it's not very viable to rebuild the burn chamber using glass. Anyway, as I run around trying to get some materials, the AI calls me on the engineering communications, asking me if I'm alive, and to call them over the holo pad so that it is not on on engineering communications. They tell me that my assassin has escaped from confinement, and that they're waiting to let me hide inside the AI core until evacuation arrives, which is quite nice. Now from this point onwards my footage was corrupted, so we'll be using the power of replay to see what happens next. It won't be any different, mainly that you won't be able to see my cursor and that the chat will be universal. But it'll be, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, nicely enough, there's a security intercom in the AI core. Also, I built myself a small seat and table. So we can listen to security communications. They're asking for a jetpack. I said there's one in the room south of them, the EVA room, which I think is not true. I think. Or in the armory, actually. But at least I get to speak. Anyway. Now, these noises you hear, I don't hear. What I do hear is that the AI core in this state actually has a small heartbeat noise. But I don't hear the punching and the stabbing noises right now, which is gonna come up later, in like a moment, a small moment. But I noticed that the person in the mime EVA suit is back once again. I try to escape, since once again they have the heavy suit and they're slowed, but the Hollow Ghost is too fast for me. So I don't get away in time before being hurt slows me down. The AI asks for help, but it's not gonna happen. The iCore is always an out-of-the-way place. Hard to respond to. Anyway. The Revenant tries to eat my soul, but the person who killed me doesn't let them. I get taken to a shuttle. Now they brag about it on the common radio. And they ask the chief engineer something. Unfortunately for them, the chief engineer is busy with super mega repairs around security, as there's a wizard with a fireball. So they won't be hearing these messages. Or at least not responding to them. It seems to be some kind of hostage situation, but it won't be going anywhere. So my body gets retrieved eventually, as I get left in some random maintenance hall. And we once again have to recover in medical. As you can see, security is pretty much all dead from the looks of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 or 6 security personnel, all in medbay right now, dead. When somebody was working on a rampage, which is pretty much the last straw for me. Now I know for a fact that I have to defend myself with some real weapons. So I managed to get a syndicate handgun on the ground, a cobra, and I loot this person's bag for ammo, melee weapons, and engineering supplies. Which means I now have something to defend myself against the next assassination attempt, even if it's an illegal syndicate gun. And a machete. Better than nothing. And all this fits in my bag, so it's somewhat low-key. And at this point, evac has been called again, as there's a nuclear operative who won't be able to nuke, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. To make it to the evac shuttle, we're on route right now. Decided to hold up, hiding inside the engineering room, because I know that there were at least two people who were working together to assassinate me. A scientist and the Atmos tech. I was planning on bolting the door, but because of the EMP, that doesn't happen. Now I relax in my room. But a scientist arrives and undoes the door. And a weird-looking, masked-up chemist comes in, puts on a fire suit. And because I find this weird, I escape. They're spraying me with some kind of solution that makes people on fire. So I can take out my gun. Because of my winter coat, I don't lose the temperature fast, the hot temperature. For some reason, the security personnel comes in and cuffs me, which is fine, I guess. As long as they pay attention to my body. As you can see, they're following somewhat down there. But somebody with a mini bomb comes in, blowing a bunch of people up, including my body. But security picks up my brain and gets it to the command center. Also, this was what, like 5, 6 assassins? A chemist, 2 scientists, at Mostek, the mime person. I forgot, I lost count. Anyway, our brain makes it to evacuation to Central Command, which is better than nothing. Considering that we had 5 or 6 assassins after us, that's decent. That's decent odds. Anyway, this was the most amount of people who were coming after me as a regular crew member, meaning that since I'm not a member of command, I don't have special access to directly talk to security or with other command members. And I think I'd be satisfied with the results. People actually, noticed and took measures to protect me. In any case, that was fun. See you guys next time. Okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye.